If you missed class on Tuesday, this is how to do those pin value scales that we did together. You're gonna need to draw 4 rectangles that are 1 inch by 8 inches. And I've started doing this already, and I'm just gonna draw them as one big box, which you can do this too. So this side is 8 inches, and then this side is 4 inches, okay? So now I'm just going to divide these up into 1 inch strips. So I'm gonna mark it at every inch on these shorter sides. Okay, then I'm going to connect them. Okay, so I have my 4 value scales. Now the last thing I'm going to do, if you remember from our previous value scales, is we divided them into 1 inch sections. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on these longer sides. I'm going to mark at every inch for the top. I'm going to slide my ruler down and do it at the bottom. And then I'll use my ruler to connect them. So for the pin part that we're going to start here in a second, whoa, they do not match up. No boy. I don't think my lines are very even. That's okay. Don't you hate when that happens? When you realize that your lines don't really match up? I hate it. Okay, so for the pins that you can use to fill these in, you can use just an ink pen. I would use black or blue if you had a choice. If you had the choice, I'd use black. And you could actually use one of like a different kind of pin for each value scale, that's fine. You could also use an ultra fine tip Sharpie. You could use a Pigma pin, or sometimes kids find these pins called, the brand is Zig. It's like a drawing marker that you can buy. Any of those will work, or like a fine tip writing Sharpie. I like those. I just don't have any with me right now. Okay, so you're gonna have 4 value scales kind of shoved together here. So here are the type of marker pins that I have. I have an ink pen. I have the ultra fine tip Sharpie, which the tip of this looks like that. That's the tip you need. Pigma pen looks very similar. It's just itty bitty. Or even one of these felt tip pins would work as well. Okay. So any of those you pick. I'm gonna use my Pigma pen because I like it. If I was gonna tell you to go buy some, I would tell you to buy a Pigma pen. They're Micron actually, and they come with different numbers. So the first type of value scale that we're gonna do with ink is gonna be hatching, and we did this with our colored pencil. Okay, hatching is the first. Cross hatching will be the second. Third will be stippling. And the last one will be, you could call this scumbling. Some kids just call it scribbling, okay? So we're gonna go from light to dark, but I always start with a darker. And so for hatching, you just wanna make vertical lines. Let's do vertical lines together. And you're gonna fill this box up with vertical lines, and they don't have to be completely straight. I mean, you could if you really want to, and you can let them overlap. And since this is the darkest one, I'm gonna just go back over it a few times. And when you get to the next one, you're gonna do lines, but they aren't gonna be as close together. Okay, next one. We're just gonna keep getting lighter. So that means the lines are just gonna keep getting further apart because your pressure is probably always gonna be the same when you're doing this. It's just the lines are gonna get further apart. And lighter if you can, but mostly just further apart. So this is hatching. So you can see value. So you could use this for shadow. And you can always go back over and add a few more to make it a little bit more pronounced. Okay, that's hatching. So cross hatching is going to be the exact same idea, except, I mean, you're just gonna crisscross lines, and I'm gonna go this direction just for the sake of like doing a different kind of drawing, line drawing. So I'm gonna go this is diagonal. And then I'm gonna hatch the other way. And again, the way to make it darker is to add more lines, not to like scribble it in. Okay, let's go on. Now you just want your lines to get further apart. Cross hatching. Okay, the next one. This one takes a while. So I'm just gonna show you and you can finish it on your own. But you're gonna use tiny little dots. And you're gonna slowly get, actually I'm gonna switch pens to my Sharpie just for time. These make bigger dots. So Stippling is just another way to make value. It's with tiny little dots. And they're just gonna be completely kind of dark filled in, as in you're gonna fill this in as the square in as much as you can. And then it's slowly gonna get lighter, less filled in. I do want you to do the value scale just like we have been doing. So complete this, but you get the idea. I hope. Stippling is just tiny little dots, and the more perfect you can make them every time, the better it usually looks. But it takes a while because you have to make all these dots. Okay, the last one is scumbling. Some kids call it scribbling. We did this with colored pencil, but it's just little circles to create value. This one goes pretty quick, so when you need a break from your stippling, you can come back and do this one. It's pretty easy. So you would just do this as much as you can to fill in this first box as dark as you can, so most of the white of the paper is gone. And then you just like we did with the hatching and cross hatching, you just don't fill in your lines as much each square. You make your circles as big or small as you want. But it does create an interesting way to show different shades when you're using a pen. Just gonna let them get bigger and looser and less filled in as you go. Okay, so I do want you to finish this stippling, and when you're done,